y'all saw in the paper this week.
Yeah.
Seniors aren't gonna have to cross anybody's path.
Yeah, we're live. Now they're gonna record the whole news station will record everything they said, but of course they're only gonna pick the highlights and stuff. It's interesting that closed meeting. So they might come out and say what that might be about to a point. There's two matters there. Personnel would be as far as like anybody employed with the school, right? And then of course the student matter. I'm assuming such things are related to this.
Y'all got the multi-mic set up on the podium.
Yeah, I just don't trust the sound. It's so hard.
Bad crowd here. That's what I'm trying.
Maybe go for the security license on this too. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
If I had to take a guess, pure speculation, I'd say 50-50 they come out of that closed meeting and ring staff's fired. If I was a betting man.
Yeah.
Should be more than that.
It
My
definitely
opinion.
should.
Purely
That's
my
a start.
opinion. A lot can hear me. I don't think I've said it on live, but 50-50, I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me if they come out. That's ring staff's coming. But I think they'll probably stop it there. We'll see. I think it should be more. I even think maintenance, I have to see what the FOIA says. I don't want to say too much.
Good evening, everyone. Just as a friendly reminder, anyone that wants to make a public comment needs to make sure that they sign in sheet in the back if you've not done so already. Thank you.
It is not a requirement.
sure this thing works. I know somebody popped in to remind everyone, but I want to remind everyone really quickly while we're getting settled. Everybody who wishes to speak, please make sure that you sign in. You need to include your name, your address, your contact information. I'm going to use that to call on people, so please make sure that if you wish to speak that you sign in. We'll get ready to start in just a moment.
Is that me?
Yeah, it's boring.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. I also need a motion to come back out of our closed meeting, which was held for discussion of matters covered under A1 of Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended, pertaining to discussion or consideration concerning one personnel matter and one student matter.
Move.
Thank you, Dr. Erie. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Garrity. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. We also need to certify that we only discuss those things just mentioned.
Certified.
I certify.
Certified.
I certify. Are there any action items from closed meeting? Okay. And now we need a motion to approve the agenda. Thank you, Dr. Garrity. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Whittington. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Wonderful. If you'll join me, please, for a moment of silence for prayer and reflection. Thank you. You might also join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, and first I'd like to thank you for your patience with security while entering the building. Our staff received multiple threats over the past week, and so their safety and the safety of all of you all here tonight is paramount to us. But second, I'd like to take a moment to thank you most sincerely for being here tonight, both here in the room and also streaming from home this evening. As a board, we are unable to discuss or disclose information regarding specific student matters. I realize how frustrating that may be when searching for answers, especially following a tragedy. I can assure you that we are not being secretive, vague, or uncooperative. Legally, we cannot comment on specific students or their circumstances because they are children. They are minors. They and their families deserve the same respect you would expect for your own children and your own families. That said, we're all parents. And more than that, we're all parents of children who are currently attending or who have attended Amelia County Public Schools. Over the course of the past week, we have struggled with the same questions, disbelief, and sadness that you have, and we have prayed over the family, the friends, and the school community affected by the loss of a young Raider. We have invited you here tonight to be part of the discussion, as this tragedy has had a tremendous impact on our entire school family. In doing so, we have directed Dr. Harper and her team to assemble some information for us tonight so that we might, together, gain a better understanding of what policies, practices, and procedures we currently have in place. From there, we can identify ways in which to strengthen existing measures or implement new ones to ensure our schools are positive, welcoming, and bully-free learning environments for all of our students. So tonight, we ask that you engage civilly, respectfully, and with decorum. It is our responsibility to model appropriate behavior, and remember, our children are watching. I would like to invite my fellow board members to share any additional thoughts they may have before we hear more information from Dr. Harper and the central office staff.
I'd like to add that I was at church on Sunday, and our pastor, David Slayton, offered some really important words about community, about peace, about helping each other, turning to each other, supporting each other in these kind of difficult, challenging times. And that's what our board wants to be. We want to be part of that operation, part of that process. It's hard. I've been receiving messages, as my fellow board members have as well, that are uplifting, challenging, critical at times, but we're all looking for the same thing, and that is ways forward that we can provide a positive solution to some of the problems that we're facing.
I wanted to take a moment, if I could, to find out a little bit more about you all that are in the audience. If you would indulge me, how many are current ACPS parents? How about current ACPS grandparents? How many of you would say that you're here tonight as part of a civic organization of some sort or a community group that does things? And then how about maybe a faith-based organization? Did I miss any categories? If you've ever listened to me talk at a board meeting, I say all the time that I don't know what hat I'm wearing. Right? I have 6 kids. 5 are old enough to be in the school system. They're here in the public schools. And when I just asked you those questions, I'm glad to see so many different groups represented. Many of you raised your hands at least twice. And I think this week has been another example of not knowing which hat we're wearing at all times. As Sarah mentioned, I've had the same kitchen table conversations that many of you have had this week. I have students in every building every day, and they've come home with many of the same questions. So we're having the same conversations that you all are having, and that's what we hope to see continue here tonight, the conversation where we can start with the same information and move forward from there to identify any gaps, any improvements, anything that can be done to move forward together as a community. So thank you for coming out.
Good evening, welcome. Like Robin, I've worn different hats. I've been a parent, I've been a teacher, I've been an administrator, I've been a community member. I've had children in schools who have been bullied. I know myself as a child had issues with that. This is a problem that we all have to have a part of. This is not something that's new. This is not something that's unique to Amelia. But this board is responsible for Amelia and is responsible for Amelia right now. So we all own a little part of this. This is part of the reason why we have this meeting tonight, is because we do need to hear. What are the concerns that you have? And we would hope that there's a ladder or a progression that when you have a concern, it's addressed at the level closest to where the problem exists. It goes to the teacher, or it goes to the school administration, or it goes to the central office. But if you don't feel that you're getting answers to the questions, and sometimes you won't get answers because it does involve information that's private, it involves another student, but if you're not getting resolution to a problem, then you do need to move that up. And as a board, we can't act on things that we're not aware of. So we want to hear. This is what we know has been a problem. We're interested in the solution. We could spend far too much time just pointing fingers, and we all feel better when we can assign the blame to something. This is the person who has caused me the issue, or this is the situation that has caused the problem. Well, we're tasked with moving beyond that. We have to have resolution. We have to have what in our minds creates that safe place for them.
Thank you. First time I've up here. I thought about what I wanted to share tonight, or what statement I wanted to make, and I just finally ended on one word: Jesus. When I have challenging situations in my life, I rely on Bible verses that are stored up in my memory bank. So I just want to share two of those with you now. God is our refuge and strength, ever-present help in times of trouble. That's from Psalms 46:1. And one that helped me a whole lot last year when I was going through a diagnosis of lymphoma. I held on to, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you will overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. That's from Romans 15:14. So those are just things that are stored up in my mind, so that I can grab hold of those when something like this happens, so that I can have some hope in this, so I can offer hope to other people. And just real quickly, if my board will, if you will indulge me, I would just like to say a prayer over us really quickly. Okay? So Father God, I just thank you in the name of Jesus that you are here with us, that you hear our prayers and you answer our prayers. I thank you for the power of prayer, and I just speak the name of Jesus over this whole entire meeting this evening. I speak the name of Jesus over unity. I pray that through this discussion tonight, that we will come up with solutions, that we'll come up with a better way of handling issues when somebody dissolves somebody. So Father, I just ask you for just guidance and wisdom. Thank you, Lord, and we give you all the honor and glory and praise in your name we pray. Amen.
All right, I'd like to thank you all for sharing. I know this has been weighing heavy on our hearts the last many days, and so as I mentioned before, we asked Dr. Harper and her team to assemble some information, so I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Harper for your presentation, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school board. This evening we will provide you with a brief overview of several topics Many of these topics are questions that have come through emails to me or to board members. So hopefully this will provide you and the public with some information that may be helpful. So this is an outline of our presentation, and we will be moving quickly. So policy, where does it come from? How does it impact our actions? Code of conduct, referral process and consequences, action speaks, FERPA, VTSS, risk and threat assessments, Title IX, the bullying prevention program, and social emotional learning curriculum that we use. We'll also address maintenance processes and recommendations for action. We plan to address each of these areas as quickly as possible, and note that the presentation has been uploaded into board docs and is publicly available, because we will move quickly, so if someone wants to go back, it is available for view. So where does policy originate? Policies are developed to address the requirements established in the Code of Virginia and case law. Bills are presented to the General Assembly, and some of those become laws. Amelia County Public Schools obtains our draft policies from the policy services of the Virginia School Board Association. These policies are based on Virginia laws and are written by an attorney. We use the services of the SBA because this is the most cost-effective means of policy development. For example, during the 2023 session of the General Assembly, a new law was passed. The law requires schools to notify the parent of any student involved in an alleged bullying incident within 24 hours of a bullying allegation. First, a report is received. The school administrator notifies the parent and the student against whom the allegation of bullying is made. The administrator investigates, makes a determination, and notifies the parties. So then, how does the school board policy impact our actions? Division policies impact our actions by setting rules by which the school division operates. These policies are approved by the school board and fall within one of these 11 categories. This evening, we will focus on category J, students. There are several Amelia County Public Schools policies related to student conduct. A few are listed on this slide. At the bottom of each policy are the legal references associated with that policy. According to the Code of Virginia, Section 22.1-276.01, bullying is described as behavior that is aggressive and unwanted. It is intended to harm, intimidate, or humiliate the victim, involves a real or perceived imbalance of power, and is repeated over time or causes severe emotional trauma. So, to review, the three elements of bullying include that it is repeated, it is intentional, and involves a power imbalance. Bullying does not include ordinary teasing, horseplay, argument, or peer conflict. At this time, Dr. Medley will share information about the Amelia County Public Schools Code of Conduct.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school board. I will be sharing information with you tonight on the processes and procedures around conduct and supports for students across the division. The Code of Student Conduct really drives our processes in terms of what school administrators do as it relates to behavior expectations. The information regarding the Code of Student Conduct can be found on our main webpage following the steps outlined in the yellow box. It is also part of our online enrollment paperwork and updates in which parents acknowledge they have received and read the information. The document outlines the expectations for student conduct, and changes are usually updated each year as necessary. It is expected that parents will review the document with their child each year as partners with the school division. If there are violations, it starts with a notification to school administrators. This can be made by parents, students, staff, or through observations of administrators. Staff members have the capability to enter information into our tracking system called SWIS, which is in essence a discipline referral. Once the administrator is notified, the information gathering begins to collect as much information as possible, but also to ensure the due process rights of all students. The goal is to find out what happened, but also to identify why it happened so that there can be some problem solving around behavior to prevent it from occurring again. Once all information is gathered, then consequences are assigned. Administrators can exercise discretion in assigning those consequences to prevent reoccurrence. Then, if there is room for restorative conversations to occur, this helps build back relationships, particularly if both parties are in agreement and willing. Potential consequences can range from parent contact to suspensions from school to placement in alternative education. Certain offenses and disruptions carry specific consequences as outlined in the expectations listed in the letter to the community from Dr. Harper in 2020. Parents have been notified of the assigned consequence. If students are suspended from school, meetings are held before they return to the school program so that we can reteach expectations and see what additional supports may be needed. For students who may feel some discomfort in reporting directly to administration or school staff, they may use our anonymous reporting system called Action Speaks. The links is found on the home page for each of the schools, and it's important to note that although it is an anonymous platform, there needs to be sufficient information in which school administrators can act. Another type of investigation that may occur under the school division under Title IX regulations. This federal mandate requires schools to address and investigate incidences of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and discrimination. School Board Policy JFHA and GBA outline the full timeline if it is determined that an incident falls under the Title IX provision. In which case, the Title IX coordinator, which is myself, would make a determination and move forward from that initial determination. Of course, there are specific protections by law for personally identifiable information, and the general rule is to maintain confidentiality, and in doing so, it does not allow us to share certain information about individual student cases. There are two additional processes for supporting students that fall under the scope of student conduct in the form of assessments. A risk assessment is conducted when there is a threat to harm self. This is completed in coordination with our school-based mental health team and in coordination with the parent, so that additional services or follow-up may be required to assist the student, and the parents and school staff can help support the student. The threat assessment is different from the risk assessment in that the threat assessment deals with a threat to the safety of school, staff, or students. The Code of Virginia outlines the requirements for the team as well as the training that's required. We're going to transition from the procedures and information around conduct to supports for students in the division. We are a VTSS division, meaning that we offer multi-tiered systems of supports for students in the form of targeted, evidence-based assistance. This is not just for academics, but also for behavior. In 2019, OVEAS was introduced in the division. OVEAS is our bullying prevention program, and OVEAS definition of bullying does align with the definition from the Code of Virginia that Dr. Harper mentioned earlier. As part of the program, the focus is on 4 anti-bullying rules and includes stopping the harmful behavior, supporting the student who has been harmed, addressing the student causing the harm, empowering the bystanders to act if they see bullying, and taking steps to prevent future incidents. To help support students' development in those skills, we have implemented an SEL curriculum. This might be most relatable to people well as the character education similarities, and SEL is an extension of those skills of self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. We chose positive action as a means to create the space for students to build relationships and learn self-management skills. The units in the curriculum cover a variety of topics such as avoiding bullying, showing empathy, showing kindness, are just examples of some things that are covered in the units. We use a team approach. Our school-based mental health professionals provide support for students on a regular basis. We also collaborate with community partners such as Elk Hill and Crossroads for referrals when there needs to be more intensive interventions. Because we want the message to be received in multiple ways, we incorporate multiple other ways to engage students in learning the skills we want them to have. School-wide assemblies and awareness campaigns such as Unity Day occur throughout the year. We also welcome mentors for students who would benefit from more individualized attention. This QR code is open today and will be open through the end of this week, and will be an opportunity for members of our community to share constructive feedback with the school division on available supports for students. It will also be displayed again on the last slide of the presentation. This concludes my portion.
Can I ask a question? Action Speaks, how is that promoted to students, or how are students aware of that?
Yeah, typically, at the beginning of the year, when there's a review of the student handbook, that is part of that, as well as our school counselors do classroom lessons with students to remind them of that availability of that platform on the website.
When they go over the handbook, is that, so that's like the very first week of school when they,
Correct.
and then one more. The OAS, am I saying it right?
Yes,
Thank you. Coaches, how many do we have in the division?
we have two. Yes, we have
Thank you.
The SEL curriculum, what level is that? When is that introduced?
That is implemented across the division at elementary, middle, and high school. Thank you.
So how do you have all these systems in place and somebody falls through?
Madam Chair, are you ready for it to continue?
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay, to this point, we've discussed our policies, where they can be found, and where they come from. Dr. Medley has discussed the code of conduct, procedures, programs, and resources. In addition to conducting an investigation when a student behavior report is made, as a school division, we also conduct investigations of our processes and procedures. Slightly over a week ago, we became aware of some concerns, and Mr. Lynch is going to share information with you about those concerns and our actions.
Good evening. Tonight I'd like to share the work order process for our maintenance department. Our department utilizes an online work ticketing system accessible through our website. Submit a request, ACPS employees will navigate to the menu, select departments, and then choose maintenance department. On this page, they will find a help desk link. Clicking this will prompt them to sign in with their Google account and then select a maintenance ticket. The submission form will guide them through defining the type of issue, providing a detailed description, specifying the site and the precise location, such as a room number. They also have the option to attach relevant files if necessary. Once a ticket is submitted, the maintenance department receives an email notification. Maintenance staff can also log directly into the system to view new entries. In reviewing the work order process, we identified an area for improvement. Specifically, we noted that several work orders submitted during the 24 and 25 school year concerning restroom graffiti had not been addressed properly. A factor was the absence of a priority designation option within the system. All submitted tickets are automatically categorized as moderate. While emergency or urgent situations would normally prompt a phone call to the maintenance supervisor or the director of operations, this was not a standardized procedure. Also noted, as outlined in our custodial services contract, daily cleaning of walls and partitions at the end of the school day is required as well. To address these findings, we have implemented the following corrective actions. First, the maintenance supervisor will now review, prioritize, and assign all incoming work orders each morning. Second, we have established weekly meetings between the Director of Operations and the maintenance supervisor to thoroughly discuss all open and closed work orders from the preceding week. Finally, we have added a clear statement to the work order submission system that reads, if this is an emergency or urgent matter, please contact the maintenance supervisor or the Director of Operations directly. Contact information is provided on the ticketing system as well. We have also raised these concerns with our current custodial services vendor. This has been done at both the local and with both local and regional representatives. We will also address this priority with our new custodial service company when they begin. This concludes my report.
That was probably because of me.
You can speak during the public comment time, or you can be removed. Take your choice.
Go ahead, Dr. Harper.
We're gonna speak.
Madam Chair,
Please.
we've heard a lot of information about our procedures and programs. Moving forward, we present several recommendations for actions in addition to what has already been shared. Last Thursday, we heard that the federal government planned to cancel grant funding for some grants like the school-based mental health grant that we received. We've been told that our specific grant is not currently on the chopping block. However, if we lose the funding for this grant, we would be at risk of losing one school counselor and a social worker. Some school divisions have an administrative-based position within the school, sometimes called a student advancement coach. This position serves as part of the school's administrative team, supporting students who are at risk due to attendance, academic, emotional, or behavioral concerns. For each of our schools to have this position would cost an additional $300,000 to $400,000 in local funds per school year for salaries and benefits. We understand that the county's tight financial status and have not asked for additional funding at this point for these positions. Amelia County Public Schools could also support state-based initiatives to enhance consequences for verified bullying. Finally, Amelia County Public Schools could increase the consequences for verified bullying from level 1 and level 2 to level 3 and level 4 with the July update of the Code of Conduct. These levels would be consistent with our increased consequences for racially targeted, inappropriate school conduct. We are sharing this QR code again in case you didn't get it. Please remember that the QR code on the screen is for sharing positive suggestions to support our students, not to make a report. As Dr. Medley mentioned earlier, that's what Action Speaks is for. We appreciate your time and attention to this presentation, and Madam Chair, we return the meeting to the school board.
Thank you, Dr. Harper, and thank you, Dr. Medley, and also Mr. Lynch for providing that information. We really appreciate it. As we mentioned, we really wanted some information about what we currently have, where we can improve, and kind of what we found, what we might be able to share. But tonight, we really want to hear from you all. And so now, I would like to move into public comment real quickly. So I have something that I read before. If you've come to other school board meetings, you've seen this before, heard this before. But I just want to remind everyone, for those of you here for public comment, that speakers wishing to address the board clearly state their name and address of residence. And I'm going to call you all up from your sheet, so thank you so much for signing in. All comments are addressed to us. Speakers are allowed one opportunity of 3 minutes to speak. And I did want to just share that it's come to our attention that there might be some concern about the established 3-minute time limit. And the reason we strictly adhere to that limit isn't to silence any voices, but rather make sure that every voice is heard. So we have a timer to ensure the appropriate time is given to each citizen. and we really appreciate your understanding so we can hear from everyone this evening. First, we would like to honor the family's request to speak first, so please, if you all would like to take the podium.
Good evening. My name is John Tursher, 1911 Butler Branch Road, Prince George, Virginia. I'm not a familiar face in this county, but my son is, John William Tursher. You see, I'm from Prince George, and that's where I live with my wife, Laura. This was also my son's other home. To him, it was not Dad's house, it was the farm. This is how he referred to it to anyone he talked to, teachers, friends, Andy and his mother. And I believe that that was John's happy place. Fishing, hunting, riding four-wheelers, anything outdoors, that's what John wanted to do. John often mentioned that he had the best of both worlds. He had two different homes with each their own amenities he enjoyed, and two different families to love and cherish him. April 25th, 2025 will be a day that haunts me forever. For over 20 years, I've been a fireman. And the majority of that, I was also a paramedic. I have seen tragedy, I have seen families devastated, and children taken from their parents. But nothing prepares you for this. That day I was at work. Just before lunch, I got to talk to John, see how his day was going, knowing he didn't go to school. Nothing was out of the ordinary, just a typical conversation. 4:21 in the afternoon, my phone rang and it was John's mom. I answered to something I've never heard before. She was hysterical, saying things I couldn't understand. I heard her say John's name, but then I heard her say the word confirmed. Now in my line of work, the word confirmed is only said for one reason. When I heard that word, I immediately realized two things. That his stepdad, Andy, was there, and something terrible had happened, and it involved John. The word confirmed is used for a person that we cannot save, that they are beyond resuscitation efforts. When I heard her say that word, my heart sank. I lost my ability to talk. And Andy was calling me at the same time. He told me to get to their house as fast as I can, but he didn't say why. He didn't need to. That one word was all I needed to hear. I didn't know how, I didn't know why, but I knew my son was dead. 55 minutes is what the GPS told me that it would take to get to their house from my work. I called my wife Laura, who was in Verina, and told her I'd left work, that something had happened to John, and to get to their house. She would be even longer. That 55-minute drive was the worst ever to make. They wouldn't tell me, but truthfully, I didn't want to be told while driving. Again, I already knew. Andy called my wife and told her that me and her needed to meet and ride together to their house. That sealed everything I already knew. There was no meeting at the hospital. There was no John is okay, take your time. An hour and 15 minutes after that first call, we pulled into the driveway with police cars and police tape lining the driveway. The first person to meet me was Chris Atkins from the sheriff's office. We had already met a couple times, so I knew him. He told me John was no longer with us. I didn't say a word, I nodded my head, finally being told something I already knew. I went into their house to find Annie and Melissa, the color from their face and tears in their eyes. I didn't need to be told how. I didn't need to be told how. I didn't want to know how. I had sized up what I needed to know, and that was to know that my son had taken his life. I've been to plenty of these calls at work, and the only thing on my mind was that Andy and Melissa had to find him and had to see our son that way. Yes, our son, the four of us. His bonus dad, Andy, his bonus mom, Laura, loved and cared for him like he was their own. Melissa and Andy now have that image for the rest of their lives. Melissa and Andy would not allow me to see him nor watch his body taken out of the house to the van. But that decision was already being made by me. The rest of the night was kind of a blur. John's family came and comforted us. Some were blood, some were not, but they were all family. Over the past week and a half, this family has experienced tremendous sorrow at the loss of our shining light. A light that put itself out because of bullying. The love that we received Friday and Saturday during his visitation and memorial service was overwhelming. Especially to the two teachers that came Friday night and spoke to us. That meant the world to me. I don't know if they're here tonight, but thank you again. This event has brought out support from several communities that are behind us. And now is the time to change things so no other kid or parent has had to experience what we have the past week and a half. To the folks in the audience, do us a favor. If you have kids, grandkids, or your neighbor's kids, take them fishing, take them hunting, take them camping, get them outside and teach them to enjoy the outdoors. I promise you that it will bring you and them joy, just like it did John.
I'm gonna apologize if I go into 3 minutes. I'm gonna try to keep it there, though. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Harper. I stand before you today as John's stepfather, and on behalf of his mother, Melissa, his father, John, and his stepmom, Laura. I want to read you a couple of names to start off. Jaden Bell, who was 15, Ryan Halligan, who was 13, Tyler Long, who was 17, Megan Meyer, who was 13, Audrey Pott, who was 15, and that John William Tersha, who was 17. I know you're wondering what all these names have in common. And I'll tell you that they all died by suicide. Each of them was a victim of bullying in school. Over the past week, I watched their family go through the unimaginable. It began with John's mother's scream as she found her son's lifeless body. I was the one who had to call 911 to report that the suicide was confirmed of a young man who was a son to me. With a heart full of dread, it was the hardest phone call I've ever had to make in my entire life. I had to tell John's father and stepmother that their son was gone, even without telling them they knew. They could just hear it in my voice. I had to watch as John's mom, shaking hysterically, and his father sign his death certificate and the form that authorized his cremation. John's grandfather and I had to stand together in the funeral home and identify his lifeless body. I had to stand by as a priest bless the box that he was held in, while his mother and 2 aunts cried over that box. John's mom gave her last kiss to her son through that cardboard lid of that box. I was the one who had to make the phone call to authorize a biohazard cleanup crew to spend over a week in our home. At the visitation and funeral, I watched his mother, who had to sit the entire time because she couldn't stand, and his father and stepmom numbingly greet hundreds of family and friends who were all there to say goodbye. There's no family that should ever have to endure this, and certainly not because of bullying. Dr. Harper, I'm going to repeat some of the things that you said just because I feel like it was important. The CDC defines bullying as unwanted aggressive behavior among school-aged children that involves a real or perceived power imbalance. Behavior that is often repeated or has the potential to be repeated over time. Here in Virginia, the code defined bullying as aggressive and unwanted behavior intended to harm, intimidate, or humiliate the victim, involving a real or perceived power imbalance. repeated over time, or causing severe emotional trauma. This also includes cyberbullying, and importantly, it does not include ordinary teasing, horseplay, or peer conflict. Bullying can be physical, which is punching, poking, or strangling. It can be verbal, which is name-calling, teasing, and gossip. It can be emotional, rejection, humiliation, blackmail, isolation, or manipulating friendships, all of which John relentlessly endured. Virginia, unfortunately, is one of the most lenient states when it comes to anti-bullying laws. And as you pointed out earlier, school boards are only required to have clear rules against bullying, hazing, and obscene or profane conduct, and parents must be notified within 24 hours of a bullying allegation. As we gather here tonight, I want to be clear. We have to pursue peaceful, legal, ethical, and moral paths to change. Charging the hill and burning down the fort aren't going to get us anywhere. The people that threaten y'all, or whoever they threaten, did a form of bullying as well. And as a family, we won't tolerate that either. I've been in the fire department a long time, 35 years, and 30 of it has been as a career. Most of that's been as a medic as well, too. We have a lot of sayings in the fire department. They're mostly funny, and I've cleaned up one of them just for the board meeting tonight. And it goes, everybody wants to be a gangster until it's time to do gangster stuff. Well, now is the time. Now is the time for y'all as a board to do that gangster stuff. It's time for you to be the real leaders that you signed up to be when you took on this position. This is where the true leaders are going to step up. Let's see who's here just for the title and who's here for the right reasons. As John's parents, we've begun advocating for John's Law, a law that would elevate bullying from a school code violation to a criminal offense. We are already working with Delegate Scott White and Senator Ryan McDougal, who stand behind us and are helping to move this legislation forward. Let me be clear, this is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's a human issue. It's clearly a bipartisan issue, and it's a community issue. I'm going to stray a little bit. She gets scared when I do that. Amelia's in a unique position right now. Not only is the county watching y'all, the Commonwealth is watching y'all. This has gotten huge, huge numbers socially across the Commonwealth of Virginia. When I called Delegate Wyatt, he knew about it. I've known him for some time, and I've known Senator McDougal for even longer. They knew about it. They already had ideas of what they wanted to do to change it. We approached them with some ideas, and just so you know the opposite end of the laws, had this been in 3 other states, those kids could have been tried for murder. Don't know where it's going to go, but we're going to push, and we're not going to stop until we get it there. Y'all have a very unique opportunity to help us lead this thing. And we're going to ask you to do just that. Get behind us, stand behind us, and help us get these laws pushed through. Now, as we are asking you and everyone here, we want y'all to contact your legislators and urge them to support this bill as it goes forward. No other family has to go through what we have. We want there to be real, enforceable criminal consequences for this type of action. There are, just because Virginia says that this is what you have to do minimally, doesn't mean we can't strengthen it here in Amelia. It has to start somewhere. So it has to start here in this county. We can strengthen those laws. We can make things difficult for bullies. And even though we can't change the criminal code, we as a school, we as a county, we as a locality can make those changes to where we hold those bullies and their families accountable for what happens. Nothing says we can't make this stuff stronger. Personally, I've never tolerated bullies, and I never will. I will always stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves, and I will always continue to fight for change. My deepest hope tonight is that John's name will be the last one ever added to that list that I read at the beginning. That no other family in Amelia County or anywhere else in this great country has to walk this tragic road. We all share the responsibility to make sure our schools are safe, supportive, and protective of every single child. If you don't know how to get in touch with us, we'll let you know. And we want to work with you to figure out a peaceful resolution to this. And once again, we want to make sure that everybody watching at home and in the crowd understands that we want peaceful, lawful, moral, and ethical resolutions to this. The threats have to stop. Everything just needs to calm down and let us work through this and get to where it needs to be. Thank you.
And so I hope you all can appreciate that I gave them a little extra time. Thank you all for sharing, all of you for sharing this evening. All right, next up, we have David Warner.
David Warner, 26870 Courthouse Road, Amelia Courthouse. I want to start off with reading a letter from a teacher, former teacher. I worked at Amelia Elementary for 6 years. I saw bullying firsthand. I know referrals were handled by administrators. My children have experienced bullying at elementary, middle, and high school. I spoke with every school board member, which I think it was all you, and they needed to implement anti-bullying programs and bullying accountability to address the widespread bullying I saw every day. We have homeschooled ever since I spoke with the school board members, so obviously nothing got done. Second off, I have been in touch, I haven't been in touch, I've had 2 current teachers get in touch with me since we had our little get together last Monday. Both of them told me their jobs have been threatened because they are trying to help our kids. I mean, that's ridiculous. The teachers are even trying, but they cannot get the support from the principals or from you all. It's time for something to happen. And we support this family totally. I know what they're feeling. I've been there. And it hurts like hell. And you never get over it. All you do is learn how to live. It's time. I hope it does not get no worse, but it's time.
Tammy Nate, 16870 Courthouse Road. I asked parents and students if they didn't feel comfortable coming here to speak, to send me messages of what they wanted to say, and I would read them for them. And I've got 3 here from parents. I had dozens that I could have brought, but this is just a sample. One parent wrote, "This breaks my heart. I was outside when the cops and the ambulance flew past my house. This is exactly why my kids are now virtually schooled. I was afraid the same thing would happen to them. I did, however, discover how to stop some of the bullying. You have to let the administration know that you now have the bully's address and make an ultimatum based on violence towards the bully's parents. The next day, the bullying mysteriously stopped for my daughter. But it's not just the students. The teachers are bullies too. My daughter's 5th grade teacher claimed ADHD and autism aren't real, and it was just an excuse to act up. She also dumped my daughter's desk to make an example of her not cleaning it out. She told the class that the mouse that got into the school was probably my daughter's fault for her messy desk, embarrassing her front of her whole class. My daughter had severe depression from her ADHD, and this is how the school let her be treated. She even has a 504. We signed up on K-12 homeschool. She's now an AB honor roll student with no bullies. Another said my child is in 3rd grade and was accused of bullying for laughing, yes, laughing, at another student. The other student has told my child he was going to kill him. All that happened was a day of ISS for both. I still don't understand why my child was penalized. My child now has a permanent note on his record because he simply laughed when someone tripped, even after making sure the student was okay. He was also pulled aside and told that the other student is still accusing him of bullying, while that student is walking around hitting other students, pushing them, and nothing has been done. It's very frustrating. And one more, it's not only students, unfortunately, it's also some bus drivers, some of the teachers, and even some of the administrators. I watched the elementary school assistant principal grab a child a few years back, and no one did anything. My son's bus driver just recently implied that he's fat and insulted a small child for spilling water. But this is how the school officials are acting. How can we guarantee better for our students? Like I said, I have dozens more of these. So, thank you very much.
Dana Mullins.
Not comfortable giving my address out loud. I give it to later. I'm speaking on behalf of several students who were too scared to be here themselves and speak. First one, I've been bullied so many times by the same student that bullied John. I've seen him bully many people. He made one of my friends go home and start schooling from there. Now I found out he was involved in locking John in the bathroom, pushing him, and bullying him. He constantly calls me names. Even when I'm walking in the hallways, he has something to say. Knowing what he did to John, I hope he feels guilty. I hope he remembers what he did when he goes to sleep, closes his eyes, or walks into that bathroom. I want him to know that he hurt someone who didn't deserve it. When he bullied me, all he got was ISS. I felt the same way John did, like I didn't matter. I didn't want to go to school. I went to administrators, but all they did was put him in ISS and ignore the issue. I hope he feels horrible about himself. I hope when he graduates, he grows up, gets a life, and stops running his mouth because he's no better than anyone else. Make a difference in someone's life instead of making a mistake in theirs. Another student, I had to come to Amelia in 7th grade after losing my mother to an overdose. Immediately as a new female, I was bullied off the bat. I had a group of people in a cafeteria tell people to raise their hands if they hated me. I sat there in tears as I watched everyone's hands shoot into the air, including who I thought were friends. My 8th grade year, I had people writing on walls that my mom was a druggie and I was a whore who deserved death. I left the school due to threats of being jumped and later had a girl beat up on me at an Amelia fair. I came back my 10th grade year in hopes of a fresh start and was immediately harassed in the midst of it. I met John in guitar class. He was a good friend and would always listen. However, I was enduring sexual harassment from several boys, of which I never knew. One stating that I was rapeable. I got a no contact agreement. It did nothing. He would eye me down in the halls and follow me around. I finally came back to homeschool. I haven't shared this part, but I had a failed attempt at suicide myself in 8th grade, and it was the hardest thing to ever recover from. I was hiding it from my family and friends in fear of repercussions and rejection. I just recently was able to come clean of self-harm. I can say I'm not the only one, and it pains me to have to share my story because I told teachers, begged teachers, and they did nothing to help me. I was alone and I was singled out. Third student. I was bullied by many students since 8th grade. A male student was throwing things at me in class. My mom went to the school and spoke with administrators. She was told they would handle it. It never was. He and many others bullied me every day until I left school. My mom addressed this with the school many times. Nothing was ever done about it. I even had a teacher curse at me and spit in my face. I have one more.
want to just take a moment. First, thank you to everyone who has spoken already. If you might please refrain from using students' names. As I mentioned earlier, we want to protect the families and be respectful. You all, also, if you have any specific questions for the board, I meant to say this too. All of our contact information is listed on board docs, and we're always happy to talk with you all. And I'll also just mention, and I'll probably mention it again, if you all are reporting things to the schools directly, to teachers, to administrators, if you feel like you are not getting heard or you're not receiving, any results or your concerns aren't being investigated or addressed, please, please, please contact Dr. Harper, contact us, because as I'm listening to these, I just want to make sure to encourage you all, please make sure if you are reporting them and you don't feel like you're getting those concerns addressed, that you don't stop reporting them, keep moving up the chain so that we can investigate. Okay, sorry for backtracking a little bit, but thank you for that quick note. Next up we have Martin Conkle.
All right, Martin Conkle, 16211 Church Street. I ran for your seat 2 years ago, Kay, and you won, and you're a very nice lady, and that's probably why you won. I started out, finance and operations was my thing, but as I spoke to parents, as I spoke to staff and teachers, this was the problem in our school system. It was the problem 2 years ago, and it's obviously the problem now. It's the lack of accountability and the lack of discipline among students in our school. This is not a new problem by far, and it wasn't a new problem 2 years ago. So my thing is, if I had won, that was going to be the issue I was going to tackle. I would like to know, at some point, the 5 of you, what have you done to tackle this issue? If I knew it, there's no way none of you knew this wasn't going on in our schools. And this is not a funding issue. Don't even go there. Our superintendent talks about unseen efforts. Efforts equals results. What positive results have we seen? This community has seen nothing but failure. There are no unseen efforts. If there was, we'd be seeing a better result. Our past superintendent of the school, was fired because of financial issues by a previous school board. Our board of supervisors just fired our county administrator last year because of financial issues. What is a life worth? And what are you 5 going to do, taking that seat, to actually make a change going forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Amy Reeves.
I didn't bring a prepared paper. First, I'd like to apologize to you all. You'll understand why I'm so long. About 10 years ago, my daughter was in this school. She tried to take her life. And I was told by an administrator that my daughter should hear what the bullies say, but don't really listen. That my daughter was the problem because she was autistic and slow and needed to be put in special education. My daughter became homeschooled, graduated. She's a thriving 27-year-old adult in a whole different community. I pulled my daughter out of this school to save her life. Had I fought then, maybe their baby would still be alive. You'll have to do something. You have to stand up. You have to be the reason for change. We all do. Every single last person in this audience and in this community need to stand up, be the reason, stand behind them, support them. Make that boy be the last boy who dies senselessly. And that's all the time I need.
Sarah, please.
I'll let you restart the timer. Are you gonna restart the timer?
Yeah, could you please restart the timer? This is Sarah Reeves.
My name's Sarah Reeves. I live off of Temple Lane. And the person that my mother was just speaking about was my sister Sonia, who I was threatened to be arrested
and multiple different situations because I stood up for my sister. And as a mother, two of my sons, soon to be two of my sons, go to this school. And bullying is still a very bad issue in all three schools. And something needs to be done. My nephew came home 2 weeks ago talking about a little kid who's going to kill him in elementary school. That is a really big issue that needs to be, like, it's ridiculous that 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds are threatening someone's life. It shouldn't be like this. Like as my mom said, as a community, we need to come together and stand for John and John's family. And that's all I have to say. And I'm sorry.
All right, I apologize. I'm trying to read the handwriting. It's Lucy St. Amour. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lucy St. Amour. I'm at 501 East California Ave, Peru, Virginia, 23930. I stand before you today with a heavy heart in the wake of a tragedy that's shaken our community. As I look around this auditorium, I see parents and community members who are here because they care deeply. And I can hope that the Amelia County School Board is taking the issue of bullying as serious as everyone sitting in this room tonight. Virginia is known to have some of the most relaxed laws when it comes to bullying. That needs to change, but that change doesn't have to wait until Richmond. Amelia County can lead the way. The school board has the power, the responsibility to set a higher standard. At the very least, we need stricter consequences for students who bully, who witness it and stay silent, or who look the other way. Silence in the face of bullying is complicity. Our children deserve a school system that protects them, not just with words, but with actions. It is time for Amelia County School Board to show up for our children, for our community, and for the future we want to build. Thank you.
Justin Wright.
Justin Wright, 6321 Military Road. The first thing I wanted to do was call for the immediate resignation of Dr. Harper. I think it starts at the top.
Yeah! Yes! Thank you.
As you can see, I'm up here with my 11-year-old son who's been bullied since kindergarten. The principals at the school knew it. He's been told everything from a kid told him they'll kill him and they're going to steal his family. The principal did nothing, made the kid apologize for him, was all that happened. It's almost a joke to see y'all sit up here and talk about the policies that y'all have. Everybody's seen the policies at the beginning of the year. Nothing's being done to enforce them. Y'all never have answers. It's always just read the policy. Here's the policy. Something has to stop. I don't even know this. I don't even want to talk to y'all. It's like, if y'all don't care, you're sitting up there shaking your heads, doing your pens. Nothing's happening. But y'all need to get rid of Dr. Harper. It starts there.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have Sean Drudge.
My name is Sean Drudge, 10-year resident of Amelia. I had a whole line of things I was going to spill tonight, but a lot of it's been covered, but it needs to be reiterated. It seems to me that all the bullies just always get ISS. Never hear about anybody getting suspended, ever. And it occurred to me that there's a reason for that. There's a price tag on every child's head. Every time a child shows up in attendance, the school gets a certain amount of money for that child for that day. If the child is not in attendance, they do not get the price for that child for that day. You see, the school board people need the bullies in attendance to make that money. And you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. It's a sad thing. And I don't even have kids at school in Amelia. Mine go to Chesterfield and Powhatan, thankfully. Thankfully. They'll all get shamed. Gross negligence and accountability. Transparency and honesty in this school system is at an all-time low. And it starts with the very board members you're standing in front of tonight. For our children's safety moving forward, we need to put people in place that are actually passionate about the job and not just in it for the money or a warm seat. Amen. We need to implement mentoring programs such as Boys to Men and Girls to Women. We need to follow other counties such as Louisa, Goochland, other counties that have adopted programs that have worked. This falls under prevention along with it starting at home. This county's school system doesn't seem to support the good moral compass that should be or is being taught in every home. They're not on the same page or in line with the parents at all. I've heard countless stories, personal accounts from dozens of parents where they've been ignored by the teachers, the administrators, all the way up to the school board. There's never been anything done about their situations or their cases. And one of the things that y'all pointed out earlier was the social emotional learning periods. Every school had them last year, and before January of this year were removed after snow days to make up for instruction. Fighting and other behaviors increased after those lessons stopped. This was a program that the school paid for and it was working. Why did we decide it wasn't more important to keep? Last but not least, criminal repercussions for bullies. Rehabilitation programs. Maybe we can work towards reform by having the bullies go to speak at other schools on how being a bully ended someone's life and how detrimental kindness and compassion really are for a safe learning environment for all students of all ages. In closing, I'd like to say thank you to all the people of Amelia that came out tonight and that are here to speak their truth and help stand for something that's long overdue. Thank you.
Cheyenne Sager.
Cheyenne Sager, 12614 Cox Road and Church Road in Dinwiddie. We moved here almost 3 years ago. The first 2 years, my son was here. 8th grade, 9th grade, John was one of his best friends, one of his only friends in this school. My son went from being a football player, a wrestler, a quarter midget car racer, had so much life in him. When we moved here, he was so excited about change. And I watched that all go down the drain from bullying in these schools. It started in the 8th grade, and it didn't stop until we relocated out of this county after he got his jaw broken in the halls of this high school. 9 hours of plastic surgery, plates to hold his jaw together, and he's looking at braces now, and he had perfect teeth before he got beat up here. He was pulling a bully off of John. He got sent to the juvenile prosecutor's office. He was going to get charged because he pulled that kid off of his best friend. He did not choke that kid. He used one of his wrestling moves to try to hold him back so nobody else got hurt. He's been pushed against the walls. He's been dry humped in the locker room and quit the football team because we went to the administrator, we went to the athletic director. He did nothing. Emails did nothing. Wrestling, same thing. He couldn't participate in anything in this school because of what was going on in this school. He went from being an active outdoor kid to being a kid that wanted to stay home, not go to school. He didn't want to do anything because he didn't have any will to get up and come in here and deal with this day after day. Stabbed with pencils in class,
kicked out of class because kids were throwing things at the back of his head, tripped, jumped, slapped, on top of the jaw broken, talked to the vice principal, talked to the counselors, tried to call the school board, tried to get word out. My medical claims were denied. Everything, nothing happened, nothing. And now he's missing his best friend, and we're all suffering in this loss because I feel that this school has turned and looked the other way. I would like to see change. Maybe not attacking you guys, I'm not trying to do that, but I would like to truly see change for kids that need that. We need to change the way kids act. We need to start with the parents, start with the policies and the rules. And I just am tired of hearing that I can't get anything done. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Vernon Frampton.
Frampton, 17768. I was going to come up here and talk about the cultural problems that we have among the students. I think that's a big, big issue. It's not necessarily, I won't say it's necessarily the school's fault, but there is a massive cultural problem with young people everywhere. I don't know how we fix that per se. I would like to say, my condolences, I can't imagine the pain you're feeling with the loss of a child. Another thing, I had a whole thing, just gonna go. If you guys, I saw the thing about the funding loss. If you guys are worried about funding loss, there's like a $2 million concept being pushed for like a permanent fireman squad. I mean, you could talk to the city, the county supervisors, and maybe reapportion the new taxes that we're all going to have to pay for this to maybe help the school with funding for counseling or something like that. I would also say, and I'm not attacking anyone or anything, I'm just saying that I would counsel caution with this new law because of things like the earlier lady's comments about the child that laughed and then was accused of bullying. Families having to deal with police investigations, legal fees. It just doesn't punish the child, it punishes the whole family. I just counsel that you would not let your pain cloud your judgment and reasonability. And if you are writing the law, I would say maybe focus on rehabilitation more than punishment. Because I could see this becoming a new pipeline for people to just have a lot of kids go into a system and never come out. Other than that, I just have what I unfortunately blurted out earlier. How do we have all these layers of policies and we had this failure? I would like that addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mary Schultz.
Mary Schultz, 17040 Beaver Lane. I'm just going to repeat something that I told you guys last year, the year before that. I've been before you several times. Broken collarbone, broken left wrist growth plate, 2 concussions, 1 tooth kicked out of his face, bruises up and down his arms, getting choked, being called a retard, being told he was autistic, not by his parents, but by another child who found out from their mother who works for the school. when she looked into his record. Boys being boys and accidents. That's what it's been told. But let's face it, this is abuse. And you guys have known about it for years. Each one of you sitting here has known about it for years. And that's the disgusting part. Dr. Harper, I ask you, in what reality does this go on in your school and you say it's boys being boys? It's abuse. It is children abusing children. And I second for your resignation, so yeah, that's
Thank you. Big Jack. Or Lon Jackson.
First and foremost, I'm so sorry for your loss. I think Dr. Amelia did a great job with the things that were on the board, on the screen. But as a school, we have to get those things that were on the screen into the school. Because if it's just on the screen, it's not going to do us any good.
Amen.
The training of school security staff and SROs, I don't know what happened, but when I was here, we had a whole bullying program. And I've talked with Mr. Ringstaff, and I told him that if I could, I would lend my so-called expertise to the school about getting that done again. I don't know if the school board wants to do that. I don't know what happened, that the security staff doesn't go to the training anymore, that the SROs don't go to the training anymore. I've seen the sheriff department come down to the gym, and the deputy comes in there and he has played with the kids. I don't know that the school security officers walk the halls, but I walk the halls in the school, patrolling the halls and going to events. It made parents feel safe that the security officers were with their kids. It made the kids feel safe that I was at the events. I went everywhere with these kids. The parents knew it, the kids knew it, and everybody felt safe. Some of the other schools started doing it because they saw me everywhere with our kids, that they started sending their security kids to security with their kids. This is all what we used to do, and it's not something that every school used to do. So I don't blame every school, and I don't blame you guys. Don't look at it like I'm blaming the school board. But it also is something that we can all start thinking about doing again. Putting those things back into place. Putting the security officers back into uniform. Because kids feel safe when they saw that uniform. And those are things that we can start looking at again, if you want to. If you want me to, I can start, lend my expertise and so talk to some of you guys about that. And on that May 12th meeting, Dr. Ringstaff has invited me to be there, and I don't mind being there. I will help my community. To protect the kids is an issue with me because I have 6 kids and 16 grandkids. I never, ever want to see this happen to anybody else's kid. Thank you.
Thank you. David Miller.
name is David Miller, 16400 Five Forks Road. We're all here because we care, and we know you all care, but that doesn't mean that there isn't much greater work to be done, and there certainly is. Dr. TA said in the beginning that our kids are watching, and she's right. I was tormented at times in my tenure at Amelia County Public Schools. I was assaulted by a teacher who admitted to it and subsequently was transferred to special education as a punishment. I was intentionally pinned between vehicles on a bicycle in the high school parking lot, to which I was actually laughed at by administration, still some of which is in the school today. I was humiliated and some harassers were encouraged by two separate teachers in the high school, and much more. To the point that my parents both advocated for me to the school board and in the schools. I was consistently ignored, however. It's extremely concerning to hear that some of the same issues I experienced still seem to be unfazed in their practice in the system today. During the 9 years I was bullied in the school system, I also have been accused of bullying in middle school. Yet, when that occurred, I was swiftly disciplined and blatantly told by the middle school assistant principal that my grievances did not matter and that I was now labeled a bully myself. How was this acceptable? And why is it being allowed to continue? There's 5 names that jump out to me in the school to which I can say each single-handedly impacted my life in a way that kept me here, saw me graduate, and they had my back. They are Diane Beasley, Nicole Poore, Rebecca Gaulding, Alvin Coghill, and Katie Jamrosi. You need staff like this in the system. You need people who take their time to actually hear the students and to work with their students individually. It's pretty sad that less than 1 in 10 of my teachers took just enough time to make an impact that stuck with me for this long. I hope you can find more teachers like these and have them heavily involved in this process especially, at least for those that are still employed with ACPS. We started with an abundance of policies, acronyms, shapes with words on them displayed to us. This audience is composed primarily of doctors, lawyers, and psychologists. This audience is composed of students, alumni, and parents who are farmers, mechanics, police officers, and nurses. We are not asking for overcomplicated, condescending dictation. We are expecting simple, effective, and understandable actions that are preventative by enforcing what's already in place. Was I correct in hearing that a statement written on the bathroom wasn't prioritized? You mean that the principal couldn't call someone from maintenance with paint to cover up graffiti in the bathroom within 2 hours? Did I miss any categories was asked in the start when trying to determine the audience's affiliation.
Thank you, Mr.
Perhaps,
Miller.
I'm not done yet.
Thank you,
Perhaps
Mr. Miller.
students and graduates who have completely been ignored for
Mr.
years.
Miller, we really
Let him finish.
appreciate-
Should have been one.
We really appreciate your comments.
The issue
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
isn't different. However, the
We
board
appreciate
is
your
different.
comments, Mr. Miller. Thank you very much. We have lots of people to get through tonight. Thank you so much.
Does anybody mind if he keeps speaking?
By
Please,
being a board that
Mr.
stood
Miller.
by
Mr.
with
Miller,
talking points
please.
to hold your hats on. Hold
All
staff
right, thank you.
responsible.
Thank you so
do
much.
not provide, or you, so you can provide an
Thank you,
example
Mr.
of those
Miller.
students
We appreciate you
responsible
coming up
for
and
better
sharing
yet,
your thoughts this
Maybe it
evening.
won't be an issue if you lead by example. I also heard, as a board, we can't.
Not you
act
all
on things
assist.
that they
I
aren't aware of.
appreciate it.
This has been
Let him
taken
talk.
care of.
Let him talk.
I appreciate it, Mr. Miller. I really do. Thank you. We have lots of people on the list, and as I mentioned early on, we really want to make sure we honor everybody's voices. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
This is also not a religious issue.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I have 2 more pages to get through. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. In honor honoring everyone's voices. Yes, we want to make sure we can honor everyone's voices. We really appreciate your thoughts.
I'm almost done, I have 3 more paragraphs.
Yeah, I mean, there are people on this list who could give you their time.
Can I stay here, wait, and if someone else surrenders their time, then I will come and speak at that point?
I would like to get through this list so that we can hear everyone's thoughts,
Yes,
please.
if someone wants to
Thank
surrender
you.
their time to me later, I will stay over there.
Thank you.
You got people giving them his time.
I'm sorry, I can't really see you out there. Is it? Terry, thank you.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Thank you. We really are.
I understand that, and I appreciate that, but at the same time, some things can't be limited to 3 minutes, respectfully.
It doesn't help when people who have already had their time are saying, keep going, because they use their time.
Right.
Sure. 3 more minutes,
And,
please.
and the time that we
3
just
more
rolled
minutes,
that out
please.
to be fair. I also heard that as a board, we can't act on things that we aren't aware of. This has been made aware to the system for years. Again, it's nothing new. This is also not a religious issue. This is a bureaucratic issue. However, it is also a hypocrisy issue, an ethics issue. It will not be fixed through policy creation, through prayer, through meetings that seem to attempt to inform all of us as if we were your pupils. This will only be remedied through accountability for your students and, for most importantly, for your staff. I've heard the board has formed a committee with hopes to come up with a solution. Please ensure it's actually composed of citizens of the community, graduates of ACPS. Please consider also creating some form of committee with students or class leaders to allow them to help contribute ideas directly from the classrooms, not just those on the outside. The research has already been done. The policies are more than sufficiently in place for immediate action. We do not need any more acronyms. We do not need any more bureaucratic dilution of the issue. The students need action now. The students need enforcement now. And the community requires it. Act responsibly. Your community is watching.
Thank you. Listen to them.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Jennifer Harris.
This is tough for me because I have had 3 kids go through the school and really no issues. The last time I was up here was during COVID, when we had this many people show up and speak to the board. And at that time, the school board was saved by a governor's order from having to make a tough decision. Tonight, there's no governor that's going to step in to keep you from making a tough decision. I'm here tonight because the tragedy is shaking our community. One that should have never happened. John is no longer here with us because of relentless bullying. And while we may not be able to control every factor in a child's life, we do have control over what happens inside our schools, to some degree. Let me be very clear. The fact that those hateful, threatening words were written on a school bathroom and left for almost a week after being reported by students and staff is inexcusable. This is not on maintenance department. It is on the staff at Amelia County High School who decided that it was not a priority to get it done. My dad was a principal for 30 years. I ran down the situation for him. He said any common sense adult, like everybody in this room, would have shut the bathroom down immediately, taken some pictures, not let kids back in the bathroom until it was fixed. And none of that was done. None of it. None of it. It wasn't even closed off to the kids. Yet they come back Monday and all the bathrooms are closed all of a sudden. That was a day late and a week late and a lot of dollars short. If that wall had said John Ringstaff instead of John T, I guarantee you the reaction. The bathroom would have been shut down. We probably would have gotten a countywide alert saying that it was a threat to the school, and everybody would have known about it. But in this case, as far as I know, the parents weren't even notified within 24 hours. And if you have different information, I would love to hear it. The writing wasn't vague, it wasn't hidden. This isn't a situation where the school could say, oh, it was on Instagram, it was on Snapchat, we didn't know about it. It was literally the writing on the wall. It was direct, it was cruel, and what's worse is it just nobody did anything about it for that many days. And that's one thing the school had 100% control over. And I want to know why that is not considered a threat. How is that not considered a priority? You covered it in a slide. To me, that slide was meaningless because it wasn't on maintenance in this case. There should have been a procedure in place. I feel like any common sense adult would have known to report that. So I'm not trying to blame the school for everything that happened to John. Obviously, we can't control all the bullies, all the parents, what's happening at home. But that one thing was under the school's control. And that inaction showed him that those hateful words did not matter. I believe that whoever the top person is in the school administration that knew about it needs to be terminated, whether that was the principal.
Yep.
Amen. One of you board members knew about it until after the death was announced, which is ridiculous. Kids in bullying situations, I'm going to go 10 seconds over. Kids in bullying situations typically have two options if it gets that extreme. They decide to take their own lives, which is devastating, to escape the constant bullying, the punches, the rumors, the isolation, the teasing. Option B, they show up and they take revenge on the bullies, the classmates, or even the school staff they believed ignored their cries. Neither of those outcomes is acceptable. Both end in tragedy. Both leave families and communities shattered. So I have to ask you, what are you going to do when the next child chooses option B?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tara Middlebrook.
Nice to see you, Dr. Garrity. Wish we could turn back time and have days like we did when you were my teacher. Good evening. My name is Tara Middlebrook. I live in District 2. I have 5 children, 2 that have graduated, 1 in high school, and we have 2 bonus sons that are my nephews. 1 in elementary and 1 homeschooled recently. That led me to a prompt meeting with Dr. Harper. Dr. Harper, didn't we just have this discussion a couple weeks ago? We need strict discipline and more counselors. Counselors that help with mental illness. We also need more of our community to be in our school system. Amelia Board, please take into consideration when local residents apply for local jobs, they be at the top of your list for an employment. They are vested in our county. How can you say, we don't know? Have you heard the stories? I know you've heard the stories. They didn't just pop up on Facebook. Kids used to respect authority, and now they laugh in our faces, your faces. Clearly, we had an incident with an adult tonight. Someone here needs a backbone. Big Jack had a good point. He knew the kids. He talked to the kids. They trusted him, and he's rather large. They respected him. The high school has a bullying prevention committee. Did y'all know that? There's a committee. They don't utilize it. You should have the contact info up on the screen that John's family provided for the senator and the governor instead of the code of conduct info. We've all seen 100 times. Thank you, that's all I got.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Sarah Marin. Sarah Marin. Oh, I see. Nope. All right, we'll move on to Delia Soloria. Delia. Okay. Alexis Henderson.
I will first be reading on behalf of John's sister, Savannah. On April 25th, my brother, John William Tertia, died by suicide after being severely bullied at the school. John wasn't perfect, none of us are, but no mistake he ever made justified the way he was treated. He was broken down by other classmates until he believed he didn't belong here anymore. No one should ever feel that suicide is their only way out. As someone who spent years struggling with self-harm and suicidal thoughts, I know what that kind of darkness feels like. I know what it's like to believe that your pain is too heavy or that you're too much or not enough. I found my way through. John was pushed too far, and that's a loss the people who loved him will carry forever. To the students, you never know what someone else is going through. You don't have to be best friends with everyone, but you do not have the right to make someone hate themselves. Even small words and actions can push someone closer to the edge when they're already hurting. Your cruelty, no matter how minor it may seem, could be someone's final straw. Please be kind, support each other. Know that it's okay to ask for help. High school is hard. You're navigating so much, but you don't have to do it alone. To the parents, talk to your kids, really talk to them. Don't assume they're fine because they smile or get good grades. Ask them about school, about their friendships, about their mental health. Ask how they treat others and call them out when you see them being hurtful to others. These are not conversations to put off. You might think it could never be your child, but that assumption has cost lives. To the school, you cannot ignore this. John's death was 100% preventable. To pretend that none of your staff witnessed what he went through is an outright lie. The bullying happened in plain sight, and there were signs you chose to ignore. He was hurt again and again, and no one stepped in. A child is dead because of your negligence. Every student who walks your halls deserves protection, not just in your mission statements, but in your actions. No one deserves to be bullied to death. No one deserves to feel so worthless that they believe that there is no way out. We must do better. We must have to do better. Please don't let John's death be another name on a long list. Let it be the reason something finally changes in Amelia County schools and ultimately every school across America. Respectfully, Savannah Ray Alfonso. Speaking as a student of Amelia County High School, I hope my voice is very powerful. Why does it take an innocent life for y'all to act on bullying? Everything at the beginning of this school year.
Can you hold on just 1 second? Can you reset that for her?
Yes, please reset it.
This is her comment, and the other was the letter. Thank you.
Why does it take an innocent life for y'all to act on bullying? Everything at the beginning of this board meeting about how bullying is handled is a straight lie. Why lie? I won't say any names, but why be in charge of the school system if you aren't going to follow the code? In my eyes, the staff are to blame. Yes, there are students involved in bullying, but it is the staff's job to set an example, and some of them don't. Also, there are reports that staff know about but do not act on. From the staff to all the way up to their bosses are to blame. The recent loss has made me feel very nauseous and cry multiple times, and I feel so bad for what has happened. Will the school system change? Most likely not. From what I've gathered, it's been this way for years. Resignation would be a great choice in my opinion. Thank you.
Jack Giannini.
Hi, my name is Jack Kennedy. I live out at 5841 West Creek Road. I have two daughters in high school. We know firsthand of the bullying that goes on. My oldest daughter was bullied in 4th and 5th grade, and my youngest daughter was bullied in 8th and 9th grade, and it was so bad for her, we ended up having to pull her out of public school and homeschool her. She came back for 10th grade, and immediately she was bullied again by the exact same boy that bullied her in 8th and beginning of 9th. We contacted the counselor, got the counselor involved. At first seemed like it was just a slap on the wrist, and then after it happened again, then it was more like where they couldn't go near her. I think an easy fix, or if student being bullied by another student, separate them. They don't have to be in the same class all the time. I mean, you're letting the problem go on and you're not doing anything about it. I also know that with my youngest daughter, again, like I said, it was so bad she had to try to commit suicide. So that's one reason why we put her through the counseling and with the counseling that she went through. That's why we ended up homeschooling. Thank you.
Patriot Martin.
Patriot Martin, 5801 today. So sorry. I've seen image from staff. I've seen kids get scapegoated out. My best friend got expelled because he got scapegoated. But honestly, sitting here tonight, the biggest thing that I want to say to y'all is we're sitting here talking about bullying. Y'all are bringing security on a man because he wanted to go over 3 minutes. We're sitting here talking about bullying, and y'all are bullying us by telling us we can't speak longer. I don't know about y'all, I'm an adult, I don't have a bedtime. I'll sit here and wait. Like, I'll listen to the man speak. I have no issue with that. And I don't see why y'all have such an issue with it, because y'all are the ones in the hot seat, not us.
Yeah.
Y'all are bullying us by telling us basically to sit down and shut up. We don't want to sit down and shut up. This is exactly how every student in the high school feels, that just came forward with all these issues and just feel like they're being told to sit down and shut up. This is exactly how all these students feel. And I hope y'all realize what these students are feeling with what I'm telling you right now, because it's messed up. I'm sick of it. I hope my little brothers don't have to go to these schools anymore. Because I don't want them to have to go through what I go through, and I don't want my family to have to go through what this family has gone through either. That's all. I'm done.
Thank you.
Mandy Martin.
Sorry, that was my son, so he got me crying because, first, I want to say, watch our parents lose a child. We're trying to show. So I hope there's not anything I would ever want anything to happen to them. I will try to speak as eloquently as I can. I can't say anything here that everyone else before me has already said. But I will say this. To move forward, I urge you to please assist in helping the community move forward. Dr. Tanner, Dr. Garrity, you guys are educators. You have backgrounds in this. Help us move forward. Help the family within the laws passed and how to navigate that. That's where you can definitely help now, is to move forward and help them in that area. Not all of us know how to do that, but you do, and this is where you can bring your expertise to the table. While you don't make the laws that govern our schools, you're elected to represent us, so tell us how you can do that. Don't tell us anymore what we can't do as a school or what we can't do as a county. Show us what you can do and be present and show up for that and help us heal as a community moving forward from this. Thank you.
All right, we have a Josh H.
Hello, my name's Josh. So I'm recently new here. Daughters just now started going to school in the middle school. I know for a fact that y'all are not incapable of action. You can take tonight for example. Y'all have gotten plenty of threats, talked and mean to, y'all been bullied online, text messages, emails, you name it. People are sending it to you. You can look how y'all set up here. You got all this pop presence. You got the metal detectors. You got everything set up so it feels nice and safe and secure here. But that shows you how y'all can do it. Why can't the exact same thing be done at the schools. Actions speak louder than words. Actions is what we need to see. Words, policies, regulations, laws. Everyone can ignore them. Everyone can turn a blind eye to them. It is no exception in the schools. It is no exception in politics. It is no exception in the military. Actions is the only thing that speaks. That's all that needs to be done, is just take actions. That's it.
Alexis C.
Good evening. So, as I was preparing earlier today, about this past weekend, with what I was going to say, I was looking at some possible solutions and like resolutions to this issue. And one thing I kept coming across is what you can do if you are being bullied or you see somebody being bullied. What can you do about it? And a lot of that brought up was try to talk it out or walk away or say something to the bully, like to stop or tell a joke. But then it comes to ask for help from an adult. And as a parent and a step parent that have children both in middle and elementary school, I know from personal experience, there have been multiple times that I myself and the mother of my stepdaughter have gone to the school, have spoken with administration, have spoken with teachers over multiple incidents between physically harming, mentally, verbally, however you want to explain it. And I was reassured by administration that things were being done, action was being taken. So I accepted that. I feel like I should be able to trust the administration. The bullying did not stop. So I took it upon myself to reach out to the other child's parent via social media, because that's the only way I knew how to do it. Spoke with the other parent who had no idea what was going on. What do you do with that? Mind you, the next day, after I spoke with that parent, the child apologized to our child. And it has not happened again. It has not been another issue. It could have been as simple as speaking to the other child's parent, letting them know. Because the policies that we saw tonight, yeah, they might be addressed at the beginning of the school year. Are they reminded to the children on a regular basis? Something. Just Monday, after this tragedy happened on that Friday, we had another incident where my daughter was drinking a drink, and the drink got pushed in her face and spilled all over her. The response she got from the teacher was, "I didn't see it, so I can't do anything about it." Most of the time, a simple apology would have been enough for me in that situation. I'm not somebody that's going to be over the top, demanding the whole world. But really, accountability goes a long ways, and there is none. Not from the school, not from, honestly, some parents. And we can't control that, but we need to control what we can.
Amen.
April Castle.
My name is April Castle. I'm sure that you're well aware, Ms. Harper and Jen Medley. That's over there. We're on Matoix Lane. I'm not going to give out the numerical address.
The administration of this school has caused profound and emotional and physical harm to both of our children. In 2016, our autistic son, Christian Adam Mims, was physically assaulted by a staff member. An incident not only covered up by the school, but followed by the county spending an exorbitant amount of money, public funds, fighting in court for 6 years to avoid accountability. Rather than addressing their grievous mistakes. Jan Medley and Lori Harper, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, our daughter, Grace Ann Mims, has endured relentless emotional bullying, not only from peers, but also from staff. Compounding this trauma, defamatory slander targeting her was left scrawled on the bathroom stall for months, ignored by those responsible for her safety and well-being. When we as parents seek answers, we are met with intimidation, lies, and vague claims of investigations without transparency. It is unacceptable to scapegoat, which you do, and dismiss dedicated staff to cover up systemic failures. We demand accountability for the neglect and the misconduct to those that have endangered our children. Only through honest reckoning can change begin. Wounds can start to heal, and trust in our school system can be restored. The time for excuses is over. Act now to protect our children. And to add, I appreciate, Madam Chairman, that you pointed out to whom we can contact with our concerns when our schools have unfortunately failed us. But I would like to point out that when my son was going through this and Jack McKinley left the chair and Ms. Harper came in, my husband personally tried to repeatedly with phone calls, showing up in person, and several emails to just discuss the matter with you, and you refused to return any of those phone calls, and you directed your staff to not allow us a sit-down meeting with you. At least Jack McKinley afforded us that. Thank you.
Is Ms. Barrett still here? Do you want to come and speak? You're the last one, because we had 2 people not show. We'll go ahead and honor your 3 minutes, please.
Thank you.
Chair Terrio, I live at 11920 Atlas Drive at Amelia. The only thing that I wanted to say is that I have 2 children. One is autistic, both of them are ADHD. And from elementary school, they're now in high school, they have both experienced bullying. And on behalf of a couple of other parents that are also not here, their children have also experienced bullying, and talking to some of the students, because we frequently have other kids coming over to our house and spending the night. It is their experience that they're ignored, things are not done, and they understand that there is policies and things are being done, but nobody ever sees what's being done. And in my experience, if you see nothing being done, that's basically saying it's okay to do it, because nobody sees any action being taken. So other students see that they can do it too, or it's gonna be okay to keep doing it. No one's getting suspended, and no one's seeing the action that is listed in the policies. So therefore, it doesn't look like there's any action. So things just keep going on. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm sure all of us play a part, society and our community, but I would like to see that people need to see that people are being held accountable. Children need to be held accountable. And if our children at this age do not see other children being held accountable, they will just fall in place. There's no rules. The other thing that I wanted to address, and this is not on the lines of bullying, but the vaping and the kids, hanging out in the stalls, blocking the stalls, so other children can't even go to the bathroom in their very limited time, running back and forth. to classes. Some teachers don't want them to go to the bathroom. The bathrooms are currently locked. So when they do get to go to the bathroom, there's multiple kids hanging out in the stalls, vaping. There are kids vaping literally in class because the teachers are not paying attention. And they're pretty smart. They just blow the smoke down their shirt. They blow the smoke down the toilet. That's not being addressed. There's kids coming to school high. And no one seems to be noticing that these children are doing these things. My kids come home and say it. And Friday, when we lost John, my kids came home and the first thing they said was there was 4 fights. 4, one day. So a lot is being overlooked that should be very obvious to the people, staff and teachers, are just not addressing it.
Thank you. All right, we have gotten to the end of those who have signed up, and I wanted to, again, thank you. Thank you so much for your willingness to come out and share. We hear you, and I wanted to make sure that we honor a couple minutes just for kind of some closing thoughts. For me, thank you truly for coming out and sharing your perspectives this evening, sharing your stories. Thank you too to those of you who proposed some solution-based ideas and thoughts. Many of you shared stories that happened long before we were on the board, or the administrators were in the building. And I know we can't change what's happened in the past, but we absolutely can learn from you all. We can improve upon what we're doing. We can move forward in a positive way. I really appreciated the family's call to action in that regard. And it helps us to be better equipped to handle solutions and problems in the future. Hearing from you all, we really do mean it. That's why we called this meeting. We wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to hear your stories. And just to reiterate that even though many of our student matters have lots of complex and confounding variables, many of which that we can't share to you because they involve minors, we do hear you. And as I mentioned before, I encourage parents, please, if you feel like you are not being heard, please reach out to us. Please reach out to Dr. Harper. And I'll also say, just as a matter of clarification, I think I've said this before, but sometimes people will say, well, I told the school board and no one did anything. So we are the school board. We are your 5 elected officials. The central office is Dr. Harper and her staff. So if you informed the central office, that's not necessarily the school boards. Our contact information is out there. Many of you have emailed us this week. We encourage you, if you feel like you're not getting a response from the folks you reach out to initially, and we always encourage you, if it's a problem in the classroom, talk to the teacher. If you feel like the teacher hasn't responded in a way that is appropriate, talk to the administrators. If you feel like they haven't responded, talk to central office, talk to Dr. Harper, talk to us. Because to know that these things are happening and not being able to address it, it's very difficult for us when we hear about things after the fact. So please make sure that you communicate with us, that you communicate with our schools. We want to make sure that our schools are safe, are inviting, are learning environments where all of our students can learn. That is something that I'm very passionate about, and as I mentioned early on in the comments, my kiddo is in the school system as well, and I want him to feel supported and loved in his learning environment, just like I want every single one of your children to feel as well. And so I'd like to invite my board members, if you have any final thoughts.
Dr. Taylor Anderson?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Edelman wanted to speak, but he didn't get his chance to sign the list.
That's fine. Did you come on up? Can we get someone to sign up if they popped in a little late perhaps? Go ahead, sir. Please, could you state your name?
Jesse Alwan.
Thank you, Jesse. Sorry, it's terribly difficult to lights shining right in our face, so thank you for your patience.
For those who don't know me, my name is Jesse Allen. John's story deeply resonated with me because I too was a victim of severe bullying. My experience began in middle school, and I kept holding on to the hope that high school would be different, that things would get better, but instead they got worse, especially when I joined the high school football team. From day one, I was target of constant teasing. They called me the water boy and threw around other names meant to belittle me. I always tried to brush it off. I told myself they were just messing around, even when they singled me out, even when they tackled me for no reason during practice. I convinced myself I could handle it. I had always thought I had thick skin, but one day everything changed. 2 players grabbed me and dragged me to the back of the locker room. They attacked me while 2 others stood by and laughed. There were multiple coaches nearby who failed to supervise what was going on in the locker rooms, so none of them were there to protect me. As soon as I broke free, I ran. I was overwhelmed, disgusted, and completely shattered. I waited until my siblings weren't around before I told my mom. I didn't want them to hear about something so disturbing. She was horrified, and within minutes, the school administration and coaches were made aware of what happened. My mom assumed the school would act immediately, but they didn't. Instead, I spent the entire day walking the same hallways as the boys who had attacked me. Nothing was done, not right away. It wasn't until noon that they brought up something called a Title IX form saying an investigation would begin. But in the meantime, I was expected to remain in school surrounded not only by the boys who hurt me, but by the rest of the team, most of whom either ignored what happened or called me a snitch for speaking up. Some students said similar things had happened to others before me, but no one ever talked about it. That's when my parents made the decision to go to the police. They pressed charges and chose to pull me and my siblings out of school. They didn't trust the school to protect me or to do the right thing. They chose to homeschool us instead. Please let's stop telling kids that teasing is just a part of growing up or that they need to toughen up. That mindset is dangerous. There's a reason we've seen a heartbreaking rise in youth suicides alongside the rise in bullying. Being bullied isn't just a phase. It can make you feel isolated, invisible, and crushed under living. The hardest part wasn't even what happened in the locker room. It was the silence that followed. No coaches reached out. Very few school staff checked in. Few teammates said anything at all. It was as if I didn't matter. And if it weren't for the love and unwavering support of my family and my church, I don't know if I'd still be here today. I'm so grateful that I found healing, but it devastates me that John never got that chance. We have to do better. We can do better. Let's come together to create schools that are not just places of learning, but places of belonging, safe, supportive environments where every student feels seen and heard and protected.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wished to sign up but didn't have a chance? Would you please share your name?
Good evening, I'm Shannon Brown, 16400 Courthouse Road. I'll start off by expressing my deepest concerns for the bullying that goes on at the schools and the lack of discipline that follows. As both a parent and a teacher, I have seen firsthand how things get swept under the rug and or overlooked in our schools. Just last year, I got a call from the school to let me know that my child had been slapped in the face, not once, but twice, by a classmate that was irritated about a game they were playing in gym. I reached out numerous times and I was told it would be looked into. The incident was never looked into. This is a prime example of why students get away with their actions, because they're not held accountable. As in the case with John T., I'm enraged at the lack of concern for this child that ultimately led him to feel there was nowhere else to turn except taking his life. The writing on the school walls and bathroom stalls serves as evidence and proof that nothing is done sometimes. There's absolutely no excuse as to why that writing was left displayed in the school for that child to read and for others to read for days. No excuse. That falls on the administration and shows the lack of concern not only with the students and their well-being, but it also shows the lack of communication between the high school administration and the school board, as these types of things are not accurately reported or the details are withheld. Just last month, the numbers showed that there were 0 incidents of bullying at the high school. We know that's not true. The lack of accurate reporting shows that our school administrators are covering things up or don't want to be accountable themselves, or aren't required to include such vital details in the report. Therefore, the information is not being passed through the proper channels. This process is broken. I am sickened, and my heart is heavy for John's family. While I do realize that mental health could be part of this incident, the writing on the wall was no doubt a pushing factor for this child's decision to end his life. The writing should have been removed or painted over immediately, and if it couldn't be covered, then the bathroom's door should have been locked until it was covered. Instead, the writing was left for all to see, for John to be further ridiculed, for him to read the messages himself, and for pictures to be taken and passed around social media. It's absolutely sickening. A simple action of locking the door would have changed a lot. Policies need to be changed. The anti-bullying team needs to work together. The Action Speaks program that we have is not going to work if students haven't even heard of it. More needs to be done.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Those are good solutions. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Accountability is key.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Are there others who, I see hats and hands. Good evening. Could you please state your name?
Bobby Light, 1600 Richard Road.
Thank you.
I've been sitting here listening to all that's been going on here, seen it on Facebook. This has been going on years. When I was in school, our principal had a policy that you lead by example. When I went into the military, I realized that again, that my leaders there, their policy was lead by example. As I go through life, that's the way I run my businesses, that's the way I ran jobs that I worked on when I was in charge of people and stuff, was trying to lead by example. And to me, this board administration here would take that policy and lead by example. And I'll give you a couple examples just as the wrong method that you've been using. When the Board of Supervisors used to meet right here in this auditorium, the last year that they met here was a budget meeting. And we watched the staff of the school and all the school staff come in here and charge the Board of Supervisors. We want more money. We got to have more money for the students. And that was the big deal then. It was just like it was rude, it was inconsiderate, and it was demanded. It would have to be that way. Our budget, no budget. That's kind of the way it came across. Well, Dr. Harper was here. She didn't call anybody down. She didn't say anything to anybody. It was like, okay, that looked good. Well, last year at the Board of Supervisors budget meeting, back to school, I did a little bit of investigation. I called the school bus garage and talked to the gentleman that runs the school bus garage. I asked him what the situation was with the buses and things like that, as far as the number of buses that was available, this type of thing. And I figured that was the source to get the accurate information. Well, when I go to the board meeting, I present this to the board, the staff hassles me while I'm trying to present. In fact, they continue to hassle me that the chairman of the Board of Supervisors had to call them down twice. Dr. Harper was there. She didn't say nothing to him. She was just right back in the place with him. So yes, I'm going to go along with some of the other requests. I think it's time she goes.
Yep.
Thank you. I think I saw another hand. Yes, please. name, please.
Tina Green. I'm on Five Works Road.
Thank you.
I'm pretty much going to keep it constant. As you say, all you guys have kids for the most part. You get to go home to them at night, correct? When you look in their room, you still see them. They're lying in bed, they're at their desk, they're whatever. As a parent who has lost a child, we don't get that anymore. We're not afforded that anymore. Imagine one of your children coming to you and telling you that they're being bullied relentlessly. I mean, constantly, relentlessly, every day. And then you go to administration and you talk to them about, hey, I'm having this problem. How do we solve this? And there's no resolution. Nobody can come up with a way to figure it out. Nobody comes up with a way to help. So your child comes home, still being bullied, still trying to figure out how to cope, with no help. There's no help from the school administration. There's no help from the school board. There's no anything. We email, we call, whatever it is we can do. And at the end of the day, as I said, your children come home, they don't feel safe anymore. How would you feel if your child took their life because no action was ever taken, but it was given to you, the information was given to you, and nothing was ever done? I can promise you that there is no greater pain in this world than to bury your child. Do better. Listen. Come up with solutions, not excuses. Thank you.
Are there others? Yes, please. I think I see a hand over here.
Good evening. My name is Linda Powell. I am the Executive Director and founder of Virginia Take a Walk With Us. We are a nonprofit organization. We focus on mental health, addiction, fentanyl, and suicide. I have comments, I have suggestions. You may do whatever you feel that you need to do. Parenting classes, it seems like that is a must in all schools. Parents are not being parents. The school boards are not doing their jobs. The superintendents are not doing their jobs. The teachers are afraid, the bus drivers are afraid to stand up and do what's right in fear of losing their jobs. We need action. I say it to a lot of schools that I speak with, if you can't or won't do your job and do it fairly, do it just, be there for the kids, then you need to resign. We're losing too many kids, and these kids are our future. I ask that you put yourself in these parents right here, you put yourself in their shoes, you take a look at your own kids. Think about it. What would you do? How would you feel? And what actions would you take? Look at the other schools. If they're doing something right, look into it and see what you can do to implement it into your school systems. Recognize these kids that we have lost by bullying. Recognize them, do a memorial, do something so that people can see that yes, we've lost these kids, and it's unjust. It's a shame. That you should be ashamed. But if you can turn it around and make it better, look at the progress. Take responsibility. It's okay to admit you're wrong. It's okay to show emotions, feelings. It's okay to let people speak. After school programs, look into them. We are in the process now of doing some of the same things in other school districts. Harsher punishments, that's a must. Communication, that's a must. This one project that we're looking into is called the Be Kind Project. They come into the school systems, they set the school systems up with assemblies, decorate the school. They have programs, curriculums. It's something that you should check into. I have the information. I will be more than glad to get with each and every one of you and present to you that information. If you can't and don't want to do what's right regardless of your job title, then please resign so that we can put people in these positions that will have actions. I feel for all these people because I almost lost my son. Not to bullying, but because he had a mental health illness, and he was treated like anyone else. So take all this into consideration, listen to these people, and I'll be glad to sit with each and every one of y'all and speak to you and show you what I have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Would there be anyone else who popped in before we see?
I just have one suggestion for a policy. I can speak up. I don't need the microphone. I'm really loud enough as it is. So, open door policy is a military policy. Anyone in a leadership position has this policy for them.
Thank you.
That gives anyone access directly to the leadership of in their chain.
Thank you for that.
They're obligated to open their door and to speak with the person that's under them for military-wise. But for civilian side, having an open door policy will let the parents and or children have an easier and direct line directly to you.
Absolutely.
Rather than having to go make phone calls and stuff like this, office, open the door, you're ready to talk.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And that goes back to my reminder. I think, any one of us, when we receive communication, we try to respond in a timely fashion. I'll also say too that often if you send a correspondence to the entire board, you'll often get me responding on behalf of the board. It doesn't mean that the other members haven't responded or haven't, read your concerns. I respond on behalf of the board often, but I will say that, sending messages can be cumbersome, and you might not necessarily, find that sending emails or phone calls might be getting the results that you want. But I encourage you, please, I for one, and I can say this for Robin as well, we are habitually on the ball field, and we are out and about throughout the community. I know Dr. Harper is super responsive if you send messages or if you stop by central office to meet, about specific issues. But any one of us would appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and understand what's happening. Again, why we wanted to have this forum tonight, but also to remind folks that we do have our contact information is listed, and we welcome your comments. I think I see a hand in the back. Do I? Okay, wonderful. If you might come down to the microphone that's kind of far back. Thank you, and if you might state your name.
My name is Elliot Zabrowski. I am from District 2, and my experience with this school has been awful. I graduated in 2023. I had an experience very similar to Patriot Martin. It's a completely hostile environment. This place is terrible. As for our funding, we are paying way too much to these people. These people are absolutely screwing us. Pardon my language, right? I believe if you look at the budget, it's ridiculous, right? It's just ridiculous. Like, I'm sure you're all very nice people. I'm not going to come up here and be rude or anything, but this is a farce. Come on. Like, this is ridiculous. A person killed themselves because of how awful this school district is. If anyone to even consider that is obscene. Obscene, do you hear me? Crazy. Like, this is terrible. This is terrible. I'm going to put it very simply, very bluntly. And that's all. I think that's, and school choice, Lori Harper needs to resign. School choice now. Now, I say. That's all. Remember me.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Oh, and vote for Concord.
Thank you, Mr. Zabrowski.
Might not run again, but thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I shared some comments just a moment ago, but I want to make sure that my colleagues have an opportunity to share some comments as well as we take all of the information you've shared with us, the stories, your perspectives. They really do matter to us. We do want to consider, what you've shared with us this evening. We want to take all of your thoughts and do some good here. As the family called for us to sort of unite around, our community, the one thing that this has showed me this evening is that we are a community, and we are a community who cares for one another. And I think moving forward, if we can focus on that good of our community, lean on one another, and spend some time sort of just taking all that we heard from the stories this evening, from the information that was shared early on, and just try to make something of it. We appreciate you sharing your stories and honestly just giving us that opportunity to hear you. We often hear things like, well, I told so-and-so, or I haven't gotten the response that I was looking for. But this was your opportunity to share that, and I cannot thank you enough for being vulnerable, for coming out and sharing with us. It's tough for us to navigate this as a community, but I'm so very thankful for your time this evening and the energy that you're spending to share your perspectives and offer solutions for how we might move forward. Colleagues?
I'd just like to add a couple things here real quick. The point about accountability, we hear that. We understand that there's concerns out here that we want to be addressing, we need to be addressing. I also want to make sure that you understand that sometimes we don't always ask the right questions, and we rely on our constituents. We rely on you to help us understand if we're not asking the right questions. I also want to assure you that we are working hard to improve communications all the time. We're always asking ourselves, how can we improve that service to our community? That's what we are providing. We are trying to be those folks who can help and find the tools, find the time, find the answers to address the issues that are coming